just to get the snowball rolling here, first and foremost, do you think that Mohan Bhagwat, in Gen Z terminology, slayed it, or did he not slay it this time around? He also used the clock it, expression right at the end. Was that justified? Today's interaction, is this a genuine ideological shift, or like the opposition saying RSS adapting to a changing political reality and a little slow on its feet?
Namaste, everyone. So, since the day Mohan Bhagwat took his office, he started slaying from day one. Let me put it in context. As I would like to borrow a word that you used, adapt. RSS has been very adaptive. If you consider, read or wet the RSS of Golwalkar with the RSS of Bhagwat, you will find a 180-degree change. And any change is welcoming change in RSS. And one thing, let's not bracket Gen Z as a political constituency or as a constituency or as an entity. It is the Gen Z of Bharat, the youth of Bharat. And if you allow me to quote some data, RSS runs around 89,000 shakhas and at 56,000 different locations. RSS officially flaunts a cadre base of 40 lakhs. And 60% of these RSS workers are running under Bal and Tarun shakhas. So that means 90% of these shakhas are under the age bracket of 45 years. So adapting to the changing times, whether it is the constituency of the youth, the Mahila, or the LGBT, so to speak, RSS has been very adaptive. Yes, I cannot speak for the BJP, I cannot even speak for the RSS, but from what I have studied, from what I have read, from what I have interacted with the RSS leaders, they have been very all encompassing, and their only agenda is let the Gen Z, the digitally native generation, be rooted with the ethos of Bharat. That's it.
I have a quick follow-up before I bring in, Nikhil here. Mohan Bhagwat repeatedly said, and I think that was the theme of the discussion also, that we're looking at discussion, not dictation. And do you think this change now represents a new RSS philosophy, not just a communication style? And whilst you're at it, sir, help us understand why you say that the Gen Z is not a constituency, not a political constituency. I think it is. Look at what it did for the TVK government in Tamil Nadu. Look at, elsewhere across the world, some Western countries will also tell you the same, that Gen Z, the new battle, the new political battle is for the youth. Now, that's a different question. Who does the youth really believe? Who does the youth really trust? But it's about winning the trust of the youth. And there comes the idea, indirectly and by extension, of it becoming a political constituency, isn't it?
Because if we speak about the youth, the average age of India is 28 years, and mostly 65% of Indians are below 35. So it's a very youthful country that we're living in. And when I said constituency, I think this would warrant a very technical debate that Gen Z, the term Gen Z, is imported from the West, and it is somewhere an offshoot of the critical race theory. The Western Gen Z has grown up in the past 10 decades seeing a decline in their economy, seeing a cultural decline, seeing wars, and they have been living with a binary. The world to them is divided between the oppressors and the oppressed, which is not the case for Gen Z of Bharat. Let's say me and Nikhil, we have seen India, I can speak for myself at least. I have seen India growing in the past 10, 15 years. I have seen my civilizational expanding across the globe. And I do not believe in any binary of North and South. So the Gen Z of Bharat is quite rooted in the familial values, in the traditional values of Dharma, and the data speaks for itself. Many agencies have given the survey that more than 65% of the Gen Z is spiritual. They indulge in temple hopping.
Maybe I have it wrong. Maybe I have it wrong, sir. The Gen Z of this country is also looking to uproot that same tradition. It's also looking and voicing its dissent over how rigid those traditional structures are. Today, there was a question that was put to the RSS chief. Nikhil, I'm going to come to you next. That question about, same-sex marriage, that question about how many women are actually in the role-making capacity with the RSS. And I think one thing has to be given credit to is that the RSS chief, took all of those questions head on. He answered all of them, got a lot of applause from, all the Gen Z and the students that were sitting over there. But how much of today's outreach was actually influenced by the political fallout of the Jantar Mantar protest, be it Rahul Gandhi's Chhatra Ki Goonj, be it the Kya Bolti public campaign, which I think resonates the most with, the Gen Z out there, and the I.I.M.U.N Maha RSS outreach. How much of this outreach is influenced by the ever so changing political paradigm of the country?
Is this supposed to
Kabir,
me
I
or
think,
Nikhil?
It's for Nikhil. Nikhil.
Kabir, is that for me or?
Yeah. Nikhil, go on.
Kabir, I think this entire outreach by the RSS is just a result of the fallout that we've witnessed in the past 2 to 3 months, where for the first time the word Gen Z has come into the political discourse at a scale that we are seeing right now. And I do agree with that the Gen Z of India is slightly different from the Gen Z of America. The growth differences, the level, the stark difference that you pointed out, I don't agree with that. Yes, the Gen Z of somewhere who's who's growing up in South Delhi would be different from somebody who's, let's say, in Chapra, right?
Yeah.
Somebody who has access to resources would be different from somebody who doesn't have the sort of similar level of access to resources. I think the one factor is the prevalence and the proliferation of social media. I, for instance, started using computers and internet when I was in middle school. When I was in high school, that was the time first really started interacting with social media. That's not the case for somebody who's 20 right now. They've been using social media since perhaps middle school. They've been seeing a smartphone since practically they've been born. That, I think, is the difference. The way they consume information, the way they interact with each other, the kind of language that they use. In fact, right now these days, every time I'm coming one of these debates, I actually tell one of my Gen interns, I ask her what is the right for what I want to say. Like, I've been told that Mohan Bhagwat today is probably capping. I had no idea what capping means. What it means is that he's lying. The reason he's lying is, or the way I would perhaps put it, own millennial go is, मुंह
Yeah.
पे हम बगल में री. You say that Gen Zs are not anti-nationals. Very well, Mr. Bhagwat, I'm with you on that. But when are you going to tell that to the BJP? You say that the Gen Z protesters have a right to protest. Very well, Mr. Bharat, I'm with you on that. But when is the BJP to learn? That is the problem. You have RSE saying all these nice things. I can agree with most of them, but the problem is that is not what the BJP is practicing. RSS may preach one thing, the BJP may practice something else, and we all know that all of
Yeah.
this is just that political, liver twisting and that monkey balancing act, where on one hand all the LGBTQ community has linked wale baatein kar rahe hain. On the other hand, you say no, we have access to the same right of political and civil liberties as the rest of us have. On one hand, you say that Gen
Okay.
Z
Nikhil,
protesters
you
were
see,
being funded by.
whether Bhagwat capped or Mr. Bhagwat has slayed, we let the Gen Z decide that essentially. But my quick follow up to that is that the opposition calls this damage control. But Mr. Pokharna here is saying that, Mr. Bhagwat has been slaying ever since he took charge. He's been very adaptive. He's been, trying to transform. And the moot point here being that the Gen Z is not about ideology, it's more about an issue-based approach.
Yes.
That's what the Gen Z is about. So, Nikhil, do you think that when the opposition calls this damage control, that's not a very fair political assessment because the RSS is trying to adapt just like all political parties are?
Kabir, had been adopting to the younger generation, this outreach would happen just days after the Modi government to take the kind of step that they had to. It is that the RSS is an organization which pretends it as a socio-cultural organization. I consider them a political organization, but the values and the ethos that they press, they are a very orthodox set of systems. Now, today, Mohan can come and say that women should have equal rights, but that is not what the founder of the RSS said. RSS is very categorical in terms of condemning what their founders said. We've all seen the kind of things that RSS weeklies and organizer and all these put out about women, how women should be confined to the roles of the kitchen and household duties and this and that. RSS continues to be an organization which does not allow women to its prime membership. Yuvraj, my good, is going to tell us there is an RSS Mahila Morcha and this and that. But the fact is the RSS Mahila Morcha is different from the RSS. If you really want to walk the talk, please admit women into the main RSS, give them top leadership roles. We have competent women in right wing itself. But no, they will not find in the RSS. So until the time you do that, I'm going to say that you're just capping it and you can't really walk the talk.